What's going on, everybody? I'm Josh with Combat Sports Today. I'm joined with the familiar face to the channel, Tonio Figueiredo. How's it going, my man?
I'm doing good. What about you, Josh?
I'm doing good, surviving the work week. Congratulations to you on that first round knockout at FuryFC 109.
No, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun on I think it was past Sunday or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good night for all of us.
Can you just walk us through that sequence?
Yeah, for sure, man. So obviously, so in the beginning of the first round, I was starting with my feints, and I noticed that it was working, and I was able to connect a few punches here and there, and then I threw a spinning heel kick, and it landed, but I'm not sure how he was able to catch it. And so the moment I noticed he caught my leg, I was trying to run away, which got me against the cage at that point. You know what I mean? And so he was just pretty much holding me very tight against the cage, and my whole thing there was just making sure he burns his grips. And next thing you know, he started punching, so I had to scramble out of there. And finally, when I got out, I hit him with a I hit him with something, and I noticed he put his hand above his head, like complaining that I hit him in the back of the head. And I looked at the ref, and he shook his head, saying that no, you didn't. So at that point, I kind of knew that the finish was gonna come because I figured I probably hurt him there, and so I was like, oh, it's time to apply pressure, and I was just pretty much glued to him until he fell down, and that's pretty much what had happened. I was just throwing punches, and I noticed his body language was off, and so I was like, all right, we gotta go until he falls down, and we got the finish.
Adding another highlight to the resume there.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Unfortunately, there was some little bad news during the fight week. Saul took the fight on what was it? I think 5 days' notice as a replacement or something like that.
Yeah, it was about 5 days, and that's a pretty bold move. You know what I mean? So I'm very thankful that he was able to step up and share the cage with me that Sunday. My original opponent ended up pulling out. I believe he ended up getting what's it called, like a knee injury or something like that, somewhere in that nature, right? And so and we was able to get Solo in there, and we still got the job done at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So it's still a win in my book. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at it.
Oh, absolutely. And you said, it's a big hats off to, Saul for stepping up, but also on the flip side of the coin is, hats off to you for taking another opponent on such short notice. What are kind of the
Right.
emotions, the initial emotions that you get when you get that unfortunate message or call saying, "Hey, so and so dropped out"?
Honestly, I was very what's it called? For one, I know what I signed up to. It's just part of the game, right? So things like that are expected. But the way it happened for me, it was like you said, 5 days. It was he took it on a 5 days notice, and that's when I found out. I found out like 6 days before weigh-ins, and so to me, it was just like, dang, I'm cutting all this weight, and I'm like geared up, getting ready to go down to 125, and I find out that my opponent is not there to fight me anymore, and so it's just like, what do I do? Do I still keep cutting weight? And so it was I was kind of emotional about it, but when Saul stepped up, he said if we would be willing to do it at 135. I was like, hey man, I just want to fight, and so I actually had to go up a weight class because I was actually low on weight, so I actually had to eat. During that fight week, I actually ate up. You know what I mean? So I was pretty much just eating the entire week just to gain my weight back. You know what I mean? So but in the beginning, I was kind of frustrated just because I've done all the work to get down to 125, and I was mentally prepared. And next thing you know, the competition is not there anymore. You know what I mean? So it's just at that point, your brain is just into a scrambling mode where, like, what do we do now? Do we are we gonna have another opponent? So you're just not sure. You're just waiting for to hear back from the promoters to let you know whether they're gonna find somebody or if they're not gonna be able to find anybody. You know what I mean? So that's basically what was going on whenever I got the news on my end.
because like you said, you're that close to the fight. You've pretty much done most of the work, that's been put in. You're right at the close to that finish line, and then it just kind of gets taken away from you. It's kind of
Right.
a bummer, but luckily they did find somebody. And how different is it, being able to eat up during, that last week of a fight as opposed to having to, be on the opposite end of that spectrum?
I'm not gonna lie, man. It felt although in the beginning I had got the bad news, but after that, being able to eat honestly made everything easier. Um, I didn't have to cut. I didn't have to cut it all, man. It was just it was good. It didn't feel like I was in camp, to be honest. I was kind of worried because usually fight week people are suffering things like that, and for me, I was eating every day. I was having I was not on what's it called. I was not eating only. I was having carbs. I was having sodium. I was having. I was pretty much having everything that I wanted, and it felt weird. It felt like I was cheating. That's kind of what it felt like, because usually I'm suffering, like being very disciplined, but this time kind of felt like I was cheating and still being able to compete. So in the end, it actually felt pretty good. I didn't regret it at all. So it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. So
It's always good to hear, you're being able to, eat and get in, better spirits after the bad news, getting to eat during
yeah,
fight week.
exactly. Turn lemon into lemonade. That's pretty much what's it called. It had happened that weekend. That week, you know what I mean?
This was your second fight of the year. You didn't really take too much damage. When would you like to get back into the cage?
So ideally, personally, I like to have three a year, but what's it called? This year, unless I get a short notice in the UFC, you know what I mean, then I'll for sure take a fight this year. But for Fury, they have me. What's it called? They have me. I think they're gonna have me scheduled up for January of next year. So I'll be gearing up to be ready for January. Just because right now I'm what's it called? I'm in fire school, and so I'm just was so I'm pretty much just using that time to prepare for all that stuff. You know what I mean? So and I'll be available in January, which is when Fury will have me booked. They actually asked me to come back in December, and unfortunately, that day I have an exam that same day. You know what I mean? So I told them, hey, let's just do it the following month. In January, that's when I'll be back in the cage.
Has there been any talks about the title or anything? Because the Fury FC Flyweight title picture's a little murky these days with Jacob Silva possibly retiring, sort of, and you got Nick Piccinini up there.
Well, so me and Piccinini, we're training partners. You know what I mean? So I, yeah, so we're training partners. So I'm assuming I know he's scheduled to fight in November. I'm not sure who he's fighting and what it's for. You know what I mean? But my best assumption is that he will be fighting for the belt. And so if he fights for the belt, he'll fight for the belt, whatever. But if he doesn't fight for the belt, I'm pretty sure I could be the next one in January to fight for that belt. So and I won't be against Piccinini because obviously we are teammates. You know what I mean? We train together.
I had to get your thoughts on that because that is your weight class, and the title picture is a little murky these days. Like I said, Jacob Silva, I think he's retiring, but he kind
Yeah,
of talked about potentially coming back.
yeah, yeah. If for some reason Jacob Silva decides to not retire, I'm down to fight Jacob Silva. You know what I mean? I've always growing up, here in Houston, I've always heard of Jacob Silva, and actually when I was in high school, I knew who he was. You know what I mean? So I've known Jacob Silva for a very long time, and I have a lot of respect for him. And honestly, if I could share the cage with Jacob Silva, I think that would be legendary in the Houston community. And this is coming from nothing but respect, just because he's someone that I have looked up when I was a teenager training mixed martial arts. And, he was the biggest guy here in Houston, and I knew I was going to be a 125er. So if I get the chance to fight Jacob Silva, I think that would be pretty cool, honestly. It would be like a dream fight or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, because it's like you said, you're from the Houston area. He is, Houston MMA, royalty legend. Been around and a Fury legend as well in the Fury FC Hall of Fame. So
yeah,
that would I think that'd be a great fight. And I mean, he's on a pretty good streak himself. So
yeah.
you
He's
never know.
he's known to take out prospects. You know what I mean? So and I want to I want to be able to challenge that, right? So I want to see if he's going to be able to take me out, right? So but yeah, I think and I believe that the Houston community, the Houston, fighting scene, I'm sure that they would love to see that fight as well. And so hey man, like if he's down to fight me, I'd be down as well. January would be great. That would be the beginning of next year. And so I think that would be a pretty cool start of the year. You know what I mean?
And I know you're busy, with Fire School, Fury FC, and everything, but I got to get your thoughts on dirty boxing since you got all these knockouts. If they approached you, would you be open to taking a dirty boxing fight given their how many eyes they get on their streams?
Uh, honestly, I never thought about it. On You know what I mean? Just what's it called? I mean, it's honestly the same thing as MMA, right? It's just they use small gloves as well, don't they?
It's more so like boxing, but I think how what does Mike Perry say? Or one of them guys. It's like boxing with small gloves, elbows, and spinning shit.
Right.
Excuse the language, but I'm
Yeah,
trying to quote them as best as I can.
right, for sure. Honestly, I mean, I probably would just have to talk to my manager about it, right? But I don't know. I just the only thing I think about right now is just MMA. You know what I mean? So I haven't really thought about stepping out of MMA. But the LV, I think it sounds pretty cool, honestly. Like it's just the way I look at it is just a striking battle without kicking. You know what I mean? And wrestling, right? So which is I think is very entertaining.
Like I said, I had to get your thoughts on it. They got a lot of, former UFC people and their Jesse Jasses, on a good streak, Bruce Leroy, bunch
Yeah.
of other ex UFC people. The list just keeps growing with every event, it seems. So you're undefeated with 4 first round finishes. What is your message to the UFC brass?
And honestly, my message to the UFC is that I'm ready. You know what I mean? So, like I mentioned earlier, any short notices, I'm down. I'm keeping my weight low just in case that happens. I'll be ready. I'm staying consistent with my training, so it's not like I'm just gonna show up and not being in shape. You know what I mean? I'm actually gonna show up like a professional. Um, Also, for contender series, if any availability happens this year, I'm down. You know what I mean? Just holler at your boy and I'll be ready.
Awesome, man. Always love to hear it, what do you think is you're the next generation of fighters. What do you think is in you guys' mentality that's, so ready to take those short noticed fights these days, as opposed to kind of back in the day, people didn't really take super short notice risks as much, it seems.
Right. I think it's because it's the culture nowadays, you know what I mean? So like I feel like nowadays fighters they do nothing but train, so whenever those opportunities happen, they are basically ready for it. You know what I'm saying? So like versus back in the days, I feel like fighters would, go in for a camp and whenever they're done, they would go on like 3 months vacation and then be back at the gym or something like that. You know what I mean? But nowadays I feel like fighters are just mainly training and the culture now is just like, hey, like we see the results, man. There's a lot of people are getting opportunity in short notices and are able to get in. So at this, I feel like now is just like fighters mentality is just, hey, let's just stay ready just in case that they call my name, and if the opportunity presents itself, they'll be ready. You know what I mean? So I think that's where we are in today's age. People are expecting short notices fight.
Is it kind of hard to stay ready while trying to, pursue or have, like a day job as, most up and coming fighters are? They don't really have the luxury of not having a job outside of fighting.
Yeah, I think it's like if you have a day job and you gotta stay ready, I think it's very hard. You know what I mean? Like people got responsibilities, right? So that's what stuff about being a original fighter, right? So you got to take care of your responsibility. You also got to make sure you're in shape. You got to make sure you lose weight. You got to make sure of all these components, right? So to answer your question in a short answer, yeah, it's very tough. But the main thing for me is if you have a plan, you have a calendar, and you're organized, I feel like you can make it work. You know what I mean? You just got to stay disciplined with your task, and just go day by day. And next thing you know, you're making it work. You know what I mean?
Time management is, something that, we only have 24 hours in a day, but you can get a lot done in those 24 hours.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So, just kind of keep things short. I got a couple of things outside the fighting realm here a little bit, just to kind of get people to know you on a more personal level outside of the fights and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Have you watched a good movie or have you been binging a good show recently or anything?
Yeah, I'm actually what's it called? Because I'm pursuing firefighting as a career as well. So I'm actually watching this show called Chicago Fire Department. Is I just honestly just started watching like last week, something like that. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what I'm on right now. You know what I mean? So I'm either doing that. If I'm not doing that, I'm home studying for like I mentioned earlier. I'm in fire school right now, and a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now is EMT. So I'm actually learning a lot of stuff about the body, how to help people, how to resuscitate people and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So on a typical day, if I'm not studying, I'm watching the show, which is Chicago Fire Department. If not doing that, then I'm just training up, obviously, right? So that's pretty much what I do. I go to school, I study, and train. And lastly, when I have some time, I'll watch my show. So yeah,
You got to throw in the little shows every now and again to get your brain a little more relaxed besides the go, go,
exactly.
go of everything.
Yeah.
And just kind of on the subject of, like pop culture and things like that, what are your top three artists on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever streaming music thing you use?
Gotcha. So top three right now, I would say is Kendrick Lamar, Isaiah Rashad, and Schoolboy Q. Those are that's usually those are the main artists that I listen to, especially on Spotify. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are my top three right now.
Solid choices there. And just one little last question to kind of wrap things up. If you had to recommend one restaurant from your area, what would it be and what is your go-to order at that restaurant?
All right. So one of my a recommendation I would say if you don't know, there's this place called I'm sure you don't know because I think it's only down here in Houston. It's called what's it called? Lotus Seafood. And my recommendation for that spot would be the Loud Pack. So I would definitely recommend you to get that. And it's actually one of I haven't had it in a while, but now that you mentioned, I might actually get it this week. So yeah,
See, that's what I'm here for, to try and, get people to eat the food that they like. I'm a huge foodie, so I always try to get the people's opinion, anybody I interviews their restaurants in case I happen to be in their area. So I know to get some good food and not be stuck eating some random fast food as most people get stuck eating in a new town.
yeah, exactly.
All right, man. And the last thing is, do you got any sponsors, friends, loved ones, training partners? Anybody want to give a quick shout out to real quick?
Yeah, man. I want to give a shout out to my support system. Like it starts with my wife. Usually when I'm in camp, what's it called? She makes sure I got everything that I need here at home, whether it's food, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. Like whenever I gotta cut weight, she's helping me with it. And next, I want to thank my teammates, for being there, my coaches, everyone around me, supporting me. As far as sponsors, I want to thank Hardstyle for looking out for me and stuff like that. Morphin Essential also looks out for me. They're pretty good people to be around with. Um, my boy David Mill always looking out for me. So, but yeah, man, I have a pretty good support system. Trevin Giles always giving me advice on how to approach my fights. how to maximize, you know, the chance of me not getting hurt and stuff like that. He's always looking out for me. So I'm surrounded by people that just wants me to win. You know what I mean? So and I'm very thankful for that. And pretty much everybody that supports me, man. So yeah.
Awesome, man. It's always good to hear, and it's super important to have, a good support system around, especially a wife that's always backing you and looking out for the best for you. So it's good to hear to have you have that great system behind you.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. And appreciate you taking out your time on this Tuesday evening to speak with us. And hopefully everything goes good with Fire School, and we get to see a firefight announcement coming up in January for you.
That's the goal. Yes, sir. No, it will be I think I'll be done with everything in August. So but yeah. But yeah, that will be the goal.